Welcome to the latest and the longest ever episode of Demolition TV.
Tough as a jackhammer, waterproof and with a 5-year battery life, the Cantrack Asset is the ultimate in theft protection for plant and attachments. If it gets stolen, we go get it.
Our Collard Limited recently won the coveted Demolition Contract of the Year award at the British Demolition Awards for their work at the GlaxoSmithKline facility in Greenford. And this is why.
So here in Greenford we have approximately a 20-acre site of industrial use, former warehouses but predominantly mostly offices, 4 and 5-storey office blocks, 2 multi-storey concrete car parks, and it's full demolition of everything that you see, and then all the obstructions out the ground, and then we've got a 20,000 metre reduced cut and fill, cut and carve saw excavation at the end. It's one of the planning consents by the local borough of Ealing, and that was where we had to minimise the vehicle movements going out. So the only material that's left site is wood that we take back to our depot for shredding to go back into power generation, and asbestos. All the other material, like the waste, the carpets, timber, flooring that is of no use for recycling, has all been loaded onto a barge and been transported by the Grand Union Canal, and there's approximately about 2,500 tonne of material gone out by barge. You know, you've got one little tug comes along with a very small little engine, and believe it or not, it takes this huge big barge down the canal, and we're putting, I think it's anything between 6-8 40/45 yard roll and roll off bins into that barge at any one time, and we've been doing 3 barges a week now since virtually September last year. On 2 of the buildings here we've got a 9-metre basement, so it's a huge building to demolish, and the high reach is not going to be able to stand on the perimeter and reach in to demolish these buildings because they're so high and so big. So we have to do a certain amount of demolition, get the machine sat down into the basement somehow, and then work again and do the next phase. It's a very large job. We've had a lot more equipment than is currently here now. We've actually taken away probably 10 excavators from the site, because again, like I showed you earlier, we've got multi-storey car parks, and 2 of the areas of this demolition are actually on associated sites the other side of a road, and one's the other side of the canal. So we've had like 3 lots of teams of guys working in 3 areas here but it's all under one project. So we've got ranging from little 1.5 tonne mini diggers, which we've been using for service disconnections and experimental exploring where services are located in the footpaths, right up to the 75 tonne Volvo that we brought back in November last year. We've also got a 30 metre 50 tonne or 80 tonne high reach working here as well, which has been here again since October, working non-stop. We had a hell of a lot of soft strip guys here. We were up to into the region of about 50 guys just purely doing soft strip for must be 4 months. So it's been, and as well as also the asbestos removal that has been done as well. We're surrounded here by a lot of residential. We have the headquarters of Ferrero Rocher literally next door, within 10 metres of the biggest building that we're demolishing on site. So we have vibration monitors, all live vibration monitors, which are linked by GPS and SIM cards back to to Eden Borough Council, to their health and safety team and environment team there. Same, so we've got noise, dust and vibration sensors on all 4 corners of the site, and that's all located back. It highlights us by text message if any vibration or any of the levels are exceeded, and that also informs the council as well.
We're on site with AR Demolition in the heart of Leicester, and we're looking at what could be the future of demolition excavators.
So a Kiesel multi-carrier is a machine that is specifically designed for the demolition industry. There are actually some other uses, but its main purpose is demolition, but with slightly different concepts of it. It can do other bits, but mainly it's just for demolition, and it's a thoroughbred demolition machine from the ground up. Underneath it there's a Hitachi 350, but very little of an Hitachi 350. But the important point is, it's not a machine that's been bought new and modified. It's been built by Kiesel in collaboration with Hitachi, and basically they just buy the parts that they need and manufacture the rest, rather than chopping parts up and modifying them. For me, they've gone to very much the next level. They've really researched what we do, they've thought about what we do, and they've done an astounding job on understanding that and building longevity into a machine, quality, and making the machine so it really will work with limited amount of attachments and resource with it. If we did it in 4 minutes 54 seconds, that could easily be 4.5 minutes, and it's worth noting that that was an attachment working, attachment off, arm off, different type of arm on, different type of attachment on and working. So cycle to cycle, less than 5 minutes. We've been running Oil Quick now as a business for, it must be getting beyond 8 years now, and it's on all of our machines. We're a big fan of it, and that's what encouraged us to go to the next level with the Oil Quick arm change. There's so many benefits of that with the up in production, but health and safety, we've not got people clambering over the machines changing pipes. We don't get any oil leaks or any oil discharge when we change pipes. There's just so many pluses for it. There's no question that when we're taking a structure down like this using a high reach machine, we would have had at least 2 machines, and by virtue of the site there'd always be one of those machines stood doing nothing. So either your high reach will be working or your support machine will be working, never the 2 at the same time. With this concept, we just have the 1 machine. You've seen it yourself, 5 minutes to change to an arm to be able to clear up, process, 5 minutes back to high reach and working again. What Kiesel have done is this concept of being able to use all arms on 1 machine without the driver leaving the cab. Traditionally, a machine like this in its shorter arm configuration would run 4-ton tools, and in its high arm configuration would use 2.5, maybe 3-ton tools. You've got to take Oil Quick into account. This machine will run 4-ton tools plus the Oil Quick on all arms, so which is, you know, brilliant in its own right. But to do that, they've had to make the machine so it can handle the heavy tools on the high arm. One of the big things with that is the 3-ram system. It's called Tritech, and that has a system in it where the machine detects which arm's on it, and according to which arm's on, it switches on either 2 or 3 rams. So you get the correct power for the correct arm, or you can override the system if you're doing some particularly heavy lifting with a short arm, and put the third ram on as well. There is a bit of additional counterweight on, but nothing too radical, and you don't ever have to adjust that. The machine just stays with the one counterweight. If you were using two machines on this site, you'd probably have two sets of attachments, whereas we've just got one machine, one set of attachments. It is such a no-brainer to me.
So we've travelled to Swindon to see Cowaldon Demolition taking down a massive warehouse. Let's go take a look around.
I'm only one step.
We were approached by a major PLC company to have a look at a number of projects between Swindon and the Bristol area for them. At first we didn't think, we thought we were one of many, but we went to the initial interview, William Crooks and myself. Then we were asked back to our second interview, and then they put the documentation on the table, and we literally negotiated the project. So we're down in Swindon, a nice part of the world, and as you can see, these are sort of major aircraft hangars that are no longer useful. The developers are asking us to do the project as quickly and as safely as possible. That we will do, and hopefully they will get on and build new factory units. It's a major steel structure, as you can see, and it was built around about the 50s, 60s. But obviously to the client it's no good because of the heat factors, what it costs to heating it, what it costs to cool it, and they've already built one major new factory unit on this site, which has already got a client. The client looking to expand, and I believe that they're going to move on to this section. Once we've completed, the builders will be following us straight up, and then we'll move on to the other projects. And I'm delighted that William's asked me as Midlands Area Director to look after these next several projects for him. Initially this job's a 6 weeks job, but we intend to do it in 21 days.
So we're here at Squibb House, the new Squibb Group head office. Let's go take a look around. How you doing? You alright?
I'm alright, mate, not too bad.
Keep a bit of noise out.
I was a great believer in what West Ham was doing, was correct because of evolution and to make the future better, and I think Squibbs is the same. We've moved here and consolidated all our group companies here because it's the right thing for us to do. We was running 3 or 4 depots and regional offices and stuff like that. By moving everything to one place, it reduces your overhead. But it's also the synergy of all the guys who work here. By everyone being in the same place and even having a cup of tea and coffee together, they're bouncing ideas off each other, reaction times, being proactive and not reactive. It's making a big difference. Also the journey to work, predominantly our office staff all come from Essex. Not to have to sit on that 813 every day, wasting maybe 2 hours a day just sitting in traffic, which is not good for your health and your well-being. We're here, as you can see, it's a good environment to come and work. is better. A lot of the guys have only got 15-minute journeys now. There's asbestos management, asbestos removal, remediation, and then there's the smaller demolition companies that work alongside us, that do the smaller jobs. Outside, as you see, as you look down the piece there, which is not completely refurbished and finished yet, we've got a non-ferrous recycling department, we've got crushing facilities, we've got 24-hour vehicle maintenance, whether it's for the small vehicles or for the HGV vehicles. We've got laboratories over there for soil testing and asbestos testing. We've pretty much got everything. In time, we've got plans in place to build a recycle depot at the end, fully enclosed under cover, to do bag waste and bring all our own rubbish back here as well. Our business, as I said to you, I think London's been pretty quiet for the last 12 months, but our business doesn't really revolve around London. There's a lot going on up in the north at the minute, and we're fairly busy up there. We have an order book now going into next January and February. I don't think any business is Brexit proof, but we're quite comfortable where we are. There was never a good time to do this because the investment was substantial, but we believe in the business and we believe in moving forward that it was certainly the right thing to do. Demolition is what we do. It's the core bit of our business, but there's a professionalism to demolition, which is what we're trying to portray. And maybe the image and the office and the work environment and the well-being of our employees is important to the fundamentals of the business. I wouldn't say we're quite like Erith and Keltbury and McGee's, because I think their business is, a big portion of it is now groundworks. We're not a groundworks business. Our business is still demolition, but we're the specialist demolition. The niche markets, the nuclear decommissioning, the oil and gas sector, that's more us. You know, I think that's where we're slightly different from them. You know, I don't want to be a pilot or a ground worker. I still want to do demolition. We've bought companies in the past, and we're not against buying the right company now, but they've got to be something that's going to add to your business. And as I said to you, our business is quite specialist now. A big portion of our business is nuclear decommissioning. We're involved in a 10-year framework at Sellafield, obviously the Magnox framework, and some numerous other frameworks and schemes that we're involved in at the minute. That's more the sort of market that we want to go in the future. There's not many businesses that want to sell in that market. I wouldn't really be interested in smaller demolition companies no more. To be fair, I think the Magnox framework in its infancy was a big disappointment to everyone that got on the framework, because we all invested heavily to get on the framework, and the workload has not been forthcoming like we ever envisaged it would be. But it's better now. Sellafield has been a very similar thing to us. I think we're into our second year now, and the first year was a bit of a getting to know you exercise. The second year, the workload has been pretty good. I wouldn't say it's still at the point where we're happy with it, but moving forward into next year on work that we know is because we're given forward program. Sellafield works slightly different to Magnox. Magnox, you sort of become in situ at a site, and then the work sort of falls in line. But it's very hard to become in situ at a site when there's other contractors who have been working there for years and years and years. And that was where I think the Magnox, the workload never came, because the framework was put on the power stations. The power station manager was told to use these ones, and it didn't happen. They were like that. and they ended up sticking with who they've used for years and years and years instead of using the framework contractor. But then you do one job and you do it well and you get on well with the people in there and you build up a relationship, and then it starts to flow. And to be fair, on Sellafield it wasn't like that. We had this first initial year of learning their procedures and this getting to know you sort of phase, and now we know pretty much what we're going to do for the next 10 years. Whatever they agree to pay you, whether you like it or you don't, is what you get paid. It is different than working for a main contractor. Is there any other business in the world that one day before you're getting paid with some clients, you don't know what you're getting? That's what seems unfair to me. I think regulation is good. I don't think over-regulation is good. I think, unfortunately though, I think the regulation came with the size of the business. We had to change. Because as a business now, with the different quality management systems that we have and etc. going through the business, which people want to see and see visibility on, for us to work in these places. They come down here once a month, and the audits, I mean, we must have an audit here at least once a week. One of my health and safety guys don't really even visit site no more. He just sits in here with orders. You know, I'm not quite sure that's right, if I'm honest. I think he should be out there making sure that my guys are working in a safer place instead of sitting in here feeling palsy. But I think that's just the way of the world. There's certain large main contractors in this company who employ people to stop people getting paid. I don't want to work for them. No, I don't work for them anyway, no more. When I was younger, I did a lot of sport myself. Loved sport. Loved cricket, as you can see. Was there when we won the Ashes after 25 years or whatever it was. I was there on the Monday. It was quite a Monday that was, because we won the Ashes after that 25 years, and West Ham beat Aston Villa that night. Marlon Herald got a hat-trick. Our first home game back in the Premier League. Obviously football is another thing that's close to my heart, and also you can see the pictures of my son who's a show jumper and one who's a cricketer. If you go round the office, you'll see some people like boxing. My father's office over there, he likes Winston Churchill. So there's a picture of Winston Churchill on his wall. There is a real mixed bag of motor racing, boxing, cricket, football, and a lot of West Ham shirts.
Despite the fact that they're the recognised market leader in the manufacture of demolition robots, Brock has continued to upgrade its equipment range. Most recently, the company has introduced a new range of products that feature a thing called Smart Power. So we've come to Brock UK's premises in Chelmsford, in Essex, to find out exactly what Smart Power is all about.
These civilizations are incredibly advanced, using technologies that interface with consciousness and that we can make contact as civilians.
I've been working for Brock now for 16 years. Originally started on the sales, worked my way up, and now I run everything in the UK. We cover the whole of the UK and Ireland, with a depot in Cumbria, Northwest, and this is our Chelmsford depot. We have just recently launched a range of machines which now include the Brock Smart Power. We've launched a Brock 170, a Brock 200, Brock 300 and the 520 diesel. The machines are not a new product, they've been out for 40 years, and year in, year out we're always launching new products, new machines, and trying to keep the level of equipment and, you know, make them as sophisticated as we can to operate on site, and so they change with the site conditions, to site power, generators and the technology that's involved in them. So we're always looking to keep the machines working as good as they can on site. More power, easier to maintain, and that's where the new Smart Power comes in. Our main focus is on internal demolition, where the operator is obviously the most important person that's on site. So safety wise, the fact that our guys are operating away from the machine, out of the danger zone. If anything's going to happen, the floor's going to give way, the ceiling's going to fall in, it's going to hit the machine around the operator. So with that we have electric machines, so there's no fumes on site. We do a range of diesel machines as well, which are more for open air demolition, top down jobs. We do a lot in steelworks, cement plants, where obviously the fumes are a problem. So yeah, our main focus is on the internal demolition, and obviously safety is the most important factor. Smart power. Our machines run 3-phase 415 volt electric motor. Now our machines have always been very powerful for the size. It means we can use bigger tools, we can optimise the power in a very small package. So the electric motor side of things, we've worked very closely with our motor manufacturer ABB. The machines have always been run around about 70% of the full capacity of the motor. And now what we've done now, again working with ABB and the technology that they've used, we've actually managed to get the motors running now at 100%. But what we've got built into that motor, we've got temperature sensors. So rather than our machine detecting overheating or something going on with the machine, with thermal overloads and electrical cutouts, we can actually run the motor at 100%, and there's a temperature sensor built into the motor. So when it detects any kind of overload, high temperature, the motor will back itself off. So it's back down to 70% where we always were. So it means we can run bigger motors in the machines now, bigger tools, and we can also accept maybe not very clean power on site if there's surges with other equipment using more draw on the electrical systems. It means we can still run our machines at a constant. So it means we're getting the maximum power out of the machines at any one point. We do a full training package. We train up operators to operate the machines in a safe and controlled manner. We're never showing them how to demolish the building, that's up to site contractors and everyone else. But we always teach them there is a safety zone around the machine. And basically, you see this machine here, it's not a full 360 machine, but the turret will continuously rotate 360. So our safety zone is basically the arm at full extension. Anywhere in that safety zone, you should try and keep out of that. But again, experienced operators will know that if they're working to the side of the machine, it is only ever going to move in that sort of direction. So again, as long as they're not stood right underneath it, 2 or 3 foot, 4 foot away is still fine to operate the machine. And again, it's still better than being actually sat on the machine. The machine could fall over, something could fall on it, so you're still out of harm's way. And the beauty is the control box, something goes wrong, dead switch, everything stops. As a company, Brock owns Dada, so I mean the holding company that owns Brock is a company called Lifco, and it's the second biggest privately owned company in Sweden, owned by one guy. So all of the companies involved with Lifco Group are handpicked because they're special niche, and you know they're very, very strong, very well designed, and the Dada tools are exactly that. We've been working with Dada for the past 30 years. The technology that they're using in their handheld tools has been around for, I think they just had their 50th anniversary last year. So very well designed, very well maintained. The crushers that we put on our range of machines, there isn't anything else out on the market which can actually handle the amount of concrete we're crushing and the power we get. So we are just using standard machine pressure on the machines, but when it comes to actually operating the tool, say the technology in there boosts the pressure up to about 500 bar. So we are getting maximum power out of a very small tool. There are other manufacturers making demolition robots. This is all we do. This is all we've ever done. We've been here for 40 years. And as I say, year in, year out, we are looking at any other areas that Brock could fit into, whether it's in steelworks, cement plant, nuclear, tunnelling, mining, general demolition. But there's always something else that comes up. There'll be a special niche project or a job where they can't physically get anything else in. They still need something that's machinery, it wants to be tracked, it wants to be operated. And as I say, because our machines are small, compact, they're a demolition carrier at the end of the day, they're a tool carrier. Without a tool in the end, they're no good for anything. Over the past few years we have seen there's 3-4 major companies in the UK now who are buying in. They're also contracting companies, drilling, cutting companies, and they have a fleet of Brock machines. So again, with that year in, year out, the hire fleet is building up. There's probably 150 machines available to hire in the UK at any one time, and they're always busy. So again, the split between the drillers and cutters, the demolition contractors and the hire fleet, yeah, it's growing every year.
mini digger range, there's 3 categories. So mini excavators, skid steers and track dumpers. So if we take each individual category as one, so you've got mini excavators which go from 900 kilograms right up to 8.5 tons. Then you've got skid steers, which little baby skid steer, the sort of tarmacking range skid steer, right the way up to a tracked 8033 skid steer, which is your sort of your mid-range tracked machine. And then your track dumpers, which go from 400 kilogram electric model, full electric model, all the way up to 11 tons big track dumper size. We need to put our name to something, and that's a 5-year warranty, and that is an unconditional warranty on day dot to the last day. And it also means that warranty is on the serial number and not on the customer name. So by extension, if you could have it for 3 years, chop it out after the 3rd year, and it'd still go with 2 years warranty to its next owner. And that's a big selling feature for us, a big selling feature. On standard on all the models, so that goes from the little tiny track dumper with electric model all the way up to the big 11-ton machine. Be quite conservative on this, because I think the easy answer would be say, well, we want huge amounts of market share, and that isn't going to happen overnight. I can absolutely assure you of that. Obviously, in long-term goal, that would be fantastic, but it won't happen straight away. We are gearing this towards a slow and steady pace up towards the starting with the dumpers. I believe will be a big part for us leading into the diggers. There's a lot of customers we all know have got long standing relationships with other competitors, and to change them overnight frankly isn't going to happen. But over time, and bringing in other product ranges that we can offer, I believe that will help us with market share and eventually build the Kato name. And really my goal is to make Kato a household name, as big as the competitors, as big as the Takuchis or the Kubotas or the JCB of this world, not necessarily in volume, but just every time that a quote is put together, Kato is on that quote list, rather than just the Takuchi and just the Kubota, and that would be a success for me.